Here are Grandma's 25 genius baking hacks you'll wish you knew sooner. Make instant powdered sugar substitute. Grandma always believed that good baking starts with creativity, not fancy ingredients. When she ran out of powdered sugar, she'd make her own in minutes. To do this, pour 1 cup of granulated sugar into a blender or coffee grinder, then add 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. Blend on high until the mixture turns soft and fluffy. This keeps it from clumping. The cornstarch acts as an anti-caking agent, creating the same silky texture as store-bought confectioner's sugar. This trick saves last-minute runs to the store and works beautifully for frostings or dusting pastries. Grandma used to store it in glass jars, labeled with chalk paint for easy reuse. For finer texture, sift the blend through a mesh strainer before use. Always pulse in short bursts to prevent overheating the sugar. Keep some ready in your pantry. It's a reliable kitchen backup that feels homemade yet professional. Use mayo in chocolate cake for moistness. Did you know that mayonnaise was first used as a cake ingredient during wartime food shortages? It's true, and even today, it's a beloved secret in classic baking circles. To use this trick, replace butter and part of the liquid in your chocolate cake batter with half a cup of mayonnaise. Since mayo is made of oil and eggs, it creates a rich, velvety crumb and locks in moisture long after baking. Mix it in just after the wet ingredients for an even texture. Many bakers swear the flavor deepens as it rests overnight, giving the cake that bakery-style density. This method also works wonderfully for red velvet or dark cocoa cakes. For best results, use full-fat, mayo, and room temperature ingredients. If you want to boost flavor, add a spoonful of brewed coffee or melted chocolate to enhance the richness. The result? A cake so soft, no one will ever guess the secret. Grease pans using old butter wrapper. Bakers often overlook the simplest tools, like the leftover butter wrapper. Instead of wasting it, fold the wrapper and use its buttery side to grease baking pans, muffin tins, or cookie sheets. This gives a perfect, even coating without overdoing it. The thin butter layer prevents the sticking and adds a subtle richness to crusts and edges. Grandma always tucked empty wrappers in a small container in the fridge for this purpose, ready for her next bake. It's waste-free, quick, and efficient, especially when baking multiple batches. Gently rub the wrapper over every corner and edge, then dust with flour for extra assurance when making cakes or breads. The warmth of your hand helps soften remaining butter for smoother coverage. Keep a few wrappers wrapped in foil for later use. They stay soft enough for weeks. This old-fashioned habit keeps baking neat, sustainable, and wonderfully nostalgic. Replace oil and eggs with mayo. When Grandma needed to improvise, she reached for mayonnaise as a magical substitute. For recipes like brownies, muffins, or quick breads, she'd swap 2 tablespoons of mayo for each egg and use the same quantity as oil. The natural emulsion of eggs and oil in mayonnaise keeps batters moist while binding ingredients together. This trick also reduces waste when ingredients run low. Simply whisk the mayo directly with wet ingredients until smooth, then fold into the dry mix. The result is a tender crumb that stays soft longer even after refrigeration. It's particularly clever for older cooks who bake in smaller portions and want to avoid cracking whole eggs for every recipe. Choose plain, full-fat mayo for best texture. If baking something sweet, add a touch more sugar or vanilla to balance flavors. You'll be amazed how rich and bakery fresh everything tastes with just one humble pantry staple. DIY piping tool for frosting. If you don't have a piping bag, a sturdy plastic bag can save the day. Spoon frosting into a medium freezer bag, then squeeze it down toward one corner. Twist the top tightly and snip a tiny hole in the corner with scissors. This instantly becomes a perfect frosting tool. For decorative effects, use different cut sizes for varying line thickness. To make patterns, reinforce the corner with tape before cutting to prevent splitting. It's neat, disposable, and works just as well as professional tips. For a sturdier grip, double layer the bag or place it inside a reusable silicone one. You can also experiment with making your own piping nozzles using trimmed parchment triangles. Keep frosting cool but pliable for smoother flow. This thrifty trick turns any home baker into a cake artist. No fancy tools required. Chill dough before baking to reduce spread. When your cookie dough spreads too much in the oven, the secret often lies in temperature. Chilling the dough before baking helps fat solidify, which prevents excessive spreading during baking. This hack is especially useful when working with buttery recipes like chocolate chip or sugar cookies. After mixing, shape the dough into balls or flatten it slightly and refrigerate for at least 30 minutes. Overnight is even better for flavor. This not only improves shape but also enhances texture, giving you chewy centers and crisp edges. For extra control, freeze the dough balls and bake directly from frozen, just adding a few extra minutes to the baking time. Chilling also lets the flour fully absorb moisture, reducing stickiness during shaping. If you're baking a large batch, keep the remaining dough chilled while trays go in the oven. This simple step delivers consistently better cookies and is one of the easiest ways to level up your home baking. Create bundt cake without proper pan. Don't have a bundt pan? You can still get that classic ring shape with a little creativity. Place a small, oven-safe ramekin or can, wrapped in parchment paper, in the center of a regular round cake pan. Then pour your batter evenly around it. Grease both the pan and the center object well to ensure smooth release. This DIY hack mimics the traditional bundt form and distributes heat evenly from the center, which helps the cake bake uniformly. It's especially handy when you want a decorative presentation for pound cakes, coffee cakes, or even gelatin molds. Once cooled, gently remove the center insert and flip the cake out as usual. If you're using a can, make sure it's food safe and empty of labels or glue. This trick not only saves money on specialty pans, but also allows for more flexibility in baking shapes. Add a glaze or dusting of powdered sugar for a perfect finish. Measure ingredients using parchment sheet. Grandma had a clever trick whenever measuring sticky or messy ingredients like shortening, honey, or peanut butter. She'd use a parchment sheet as her guide. Simply draw measurement outlines, 1 cup, half a cup, etc., on the underside of parchment paper, then scoop or pour ingredients right onto it. This lets you visually confirm measurements without dirtying measuring cups. For precise quantities, weigh the parchment and zero your scale first. Once done, fold and funnel the parchment into your mixing bowl with no waste or mess. The non-stick surface prevents sticky residues, making cleanup a breeze. This method is especially helpful when multitasking, reducing the need to wash tools mid-recipe. It's also perfect when prepping dry ingredients like flour or sugar. Just heap and level with the edge of a knife. This technique may seem simple, but it's one of those old-fashioned shortcuts that saves time and effort in any busy kitchen. Whip up fluffy marshmallow frosting. To create a cloud-like marshmallow frosting from scratch, you only need egg whites, sugar, cream of tartar, and vanilla. Begin by heating a 1/3 cup sugar, a 1/3 cup water, and a 1/4 teaspoon cream of tartar in a saucepan until it reaches 240 degrees Fahrenheit, or softball stage. In a mixing bowl, start whipping 2 egg whites on medium speed until soft peaks form. With the mixer running, slowly pour in the hot sugar syrup in a steady stream. Increase speed to high and beat for 5 to 7 minutes until stiff, glossy peaks appear and the bowl is cool. Add vanilla to finish. This frosting holds beautifully and adds a nostalgic touch to cupcakes or layer cakes. It's light yet rich and spreads or pipes with ease. Always use a clean, grease-free bowl when working with egg whites. For extra stability, torch the frosted surface for a toasty finish reminiscent of campfire s'mores. Serve immediately or store covered. Resize baking pan to fit batter. If your recipe doesn't match your available pan size, don't fret. You can create a custom-sized pan using foil or parchment. Line your larger pan with parchment or foil and fold in one side to create a divider, adjusting the volume to fit your batter. Secure it with a folded edge and reinforce it with clips or binder clips on the outside. Pour your batter carefully into the adjusted space, using a spatula to level the surface. This technique works well for brownies, blondies, bars, or even single-layer cakes. It prevents overbaking due to shallow batter and ensures consistent texture. Always line the entire pan to avoid leaks and reduce baking time slightly if the pan is smaller. With this hack, you can adapt any recipe without running to the store for another pan. It's a versatile solution when downsizing recipes or testing new ones. Keep this trick handy for small batch experiments or holiday baking. Assemble layered cupcake jars quickly. When you're in a rush but still want an impressive dessert, layered cupcake jars are your go-to solution. Start by baking cupcakes as usual, then once cooled, slice them horizontally or crumble them into layers. Grab small mason jars or reusable cups and layer cake pieces with frosting, whipped cream, or fruit preserves. Use a piping bag or a zip-top bag with the corner cut off to add neat frosting layers. This makes assembly faster and less messy. You can build several jars in advance and store them in the fridge for grab-and-go treats. These jars travel well, making them perfect for picnics, parties, or gifts. Decorate the tops with sprinkles, shaved chocolate, or a berry for extra flair. Label jars if making different flavors. Want a shortcut? Use store-bought cake and jazz it up with homemade toppings. This method transforms simple ingredients into something beautiful with almost no extra effort. Use cocoa powder to dust chocolate pans. Flouring cake pans is standard, unless you're baking something rich and chocolatey. In that case, many bakers reach for cocoa powder instead. Lightly greasing your pan with butter or spray, and then dusting with unsweetened cocoa prevents sticking without leaving a white flour residue on dark cakes. This trick also enhances the chocolate flavor slightly and keeps presentation clean, especially for brownies, devil's food cake, or flourless torts. Just tap out the excess cocoa once coated. Most bakers often favor this hack when making castella or sponge cakes where texture and visual perfection matter. To avoid clumping, sift the cocoa first before using. If you're working with intricate molds or bundt pans, take care to reach all corners to prevent tearing. Always allow the cake to cool slightly before inverting. Try combining cocoa and powdered sugar for a sweeter crust. This small swap makes your chocolate bakes look as good as they taste. Keep terracotta disc in sugar container. Ever opened your brown sugar only to find a rock-solid lump? Here's an old-fashioned clever solution. Use a small terracotta disc. These porous clay pieces, often used in plant pots, can be soaked in water for 15 minutes and then placed into your sealed sugar container. The moisture from the terracotta helps maintain a soft, usable texture without promoting mold. You can find food-safe versions in baking aisles or craft one from a clean piece of clay pottery. Don't forget to re-soak the disc every couple of weeks to maintain effectiveness. For extra peace of mind, store the sugar in an airtight container to lock in moisture. If you're dealing with already hardened sugar, microwave it with the terracotta piece for a few seconds to revive it quickly and safely. Craft cupcake liners from Parchment. Running out of cupcake liners doesn't mean you have to cancel your baking plans. With a sheet of parchment paper and a pair of scissors, you can easily make your own liners. Cut the parchment into 5-inch squares for standard muffin tins, then press each square into the mold using the base of a small glass to create creases. These homemade liners hold their shape during baking and release the cupcakes cleanly once cooled. Bonus: they look rustic and charming, ideal for gifting or parties. Most bakers often use this method to reduce waste and avoid synthetic liners. Plus, parchment allows more airflow, helping the sides of cupcakes bake evenly. If you're using a particularly moist batter, lightly grease the inside of the liner to prevent sticking. This DIY approach is not only functional, but economical. Keep pre-cut squares stored in a tin so you're never caught off guard again. Start whipping egg whites at low speed. Did you know that whipping egg whites too fast at the start can actually weaken your meringue? The secret to fluffy, stable peaks is beginning at low speed. This allows smaller, more uniform air bubbles to form, creating a stronger structure. After 1 to 2 minutes, once the mixture looks foamy, increase to medium-high until you reach soft or stiff peaks. Add cream of tartar early to stabilize, and always use a clean, grease-free bowl. Metal or glass works best. Pastry chefs, especially when making chiffon cake or roll cakes, swear by this technique to prevent overbeating and collapsing. Room temperature eggs whip more easily, so take them out ahead of time. For added volume, separate whites cleanly from yolks and avoid even a trace of fat. Patience here yields a smoother, shinier meringue. Once you master this rhythm, your soufflés, pavlovas, and frostings will never fall flat again. Coat berries in flour before baking. If your blueberry muffins always end up with all the berries sunk at the bottom, there's a simple trick to fix it. Lightly coat them in flour first. Before folding fresh or frozen berries into your batter, toss them with a teaspoon or two of flour from the measured dry ingredients. This creates a slight friction that helps suspend the fruit evenly throughout the baked goods. Grandma always did this with her strawberry loaf and rhubarb muffins to prevent soggy bottoms. The trick works best with thicker batters and prevents bleeding from juicy fruits like raspberries or blackberries. Be gentle when folding to avoid crushing the fruit. You can also use this method with chopped chocolate or nuts for even distribution. It's a quick step that makes a huge difference in texture, appearance, and overall success. Store coated berries in the freezer if prepping in advance for smoother, faster baking sessions. Shape and decorate fun cake pops. Turning leftover cake into delightful pops is easier than it looks. Start by crumbling cooled cake into a large bowl until fine and even. Add a few spoonfuls of frosting and mix until the texture resembles dough, moist enough to hold shape but not sticky. Roll into small balls and chill for 15 to 30 minutes to firm up. Melt candy melts or chocolate in a microwave-safe bowl. Dip lollipop sticks slightly into the coating, then insert halfway into the chilled cake balls. Freeze for a few minutes to set the stick. Then dip each pop fully into the melted coating, gently tapping off excess. Decorate quickly with sprinkles, coconut, or crushed nuts before the coating hardens. Let them dry upright in a foam block or colander holes. You can customize flavors, colors, and designs for holidays or parties. Store finished cake pops in an airtight container at room temperature for 2 to 3 days. Soften hardened brown sugar easily. Is your brown sugar turning into a rock? There's a simple way to bring it back to life. Place the hardened sugar in a microwave-safe bowl and cover it with a damp paper towel. Microwave in 20-second bursts, checking and stirring between each until soft again. Alternatively, place the block of sugar in an airtight container with a slice of apple, bread, or a damp clay sugar saver disc for a few hours or overnight. The moisture transfer helps the sugar regain its softness without altering its flavor. Another method is to place the brown sugar in an oven-safe dish, cover with foil, and warm it at a low temperature, around 250 degrees Fahrenheit, for 5 minutes. Once soft, break it apart with a fork and store it in a sealed container with a moisture keeper to prevent future hardening. For long-term softness, keep a terracotta sugar disc inside the container and rehydrate it occasionally. Weigh ingredients instead of using cups. Switching from volume to weight can dramatically improve baking results. Kitchen scales remove the guesswork that comes with scooping flour, sugar, or cocoa. For example, 1 cup of flour can weigh anywhere between 120 to 150 grams depending on how it's packed, affecting texture and rise. Weighing ensures you use the exact quantity every time, especially for tricky recipes like macarons, sponge cakes, or bread dough. Simply place your mixing bowl on the scale, press tare to 0, and add each ingredient directly, eliminating extra dishes too. Many modern recipes now include both grams and ounces, so it's easier to follow precise instructions. For older recipes, use a baking weight chart to convert cups into grams. A digital scale also helps when dividing batter evenly between pans or portioning dough for cookies. Consistent weights lead to more predictable, uniform results in texture, rise, and moisture, especially useful when baking large batches or experimenting with new techniques. Rub citrus zest into sugar for aroma. Amplify the citrus flavor in your baked goods by rubbing the zest directly into your sugar before adding it to the batter. Zest a fresh lemon, lime, or orange using a fine microplane, being careful to avoid the bitter, white pith. Place the zest over your measured, granulated sugar and use your fingertips to rub them together until the sugar becomes slightly damp and fragrant. This releases essential oils from the peel into the sugar, creating a more aromatic base for muffins, cakes, scones, or even citrus cookies. French pastry chefs often use this method to boost flavor naturally, without artificial extracts. It works especially well in recipes where the sugar is creamed with butter or eggs afterward. Use immediately for best effect as the oils fade with time. You can also freeze extra zest in small bags or ice cube trays for future use in frostings or glazes. Bake 2 cakes in 1 pan. When you only have 1 cake pan but need 2 layers, there's a simple trick to bake them together. Fold a long strip of foil into a sturdy divider and place it upright in the center of a greased cake pan. Press it firmly so it touches the bottom and sides. Pour equal amounts of batter on each side, smoothing the tops. Bake as usual, and the foil wall keeps the layers separate without blending. Once baked, cool completely before removing the divider for clean-cut halves. This works best for round pans, especially 8 or 9-inch sizes. Ensure the foil is high enough to stop batter from spilling over. You can also use parchment folded thick for a softer barrier. If your oven heats unevenly, rotate the pan halfway through to help both sides bake evenly. Store flour with bay leaf to keep fresh. Did you know that professional kitchens often tuck a bay leaf into their flour containers to ward off insects and keep flour fresher longer? This clever trick uses the bay leaf's natural oils, which pests like weevils and moths dislike. Simply place 1 or 2 dry bay leaves in your airtight flour container or bag. They release a subtle aroma that won't affect your baking, but does extend shelf life. In humid climates like Japan's, flour can easily spoil or attract pests, so this low-effort prevention is widely trusted. Be sure to replace the leaves monthly, or if their scent fades. Avoid direct contact between bay leaves and flour by placing the leaf near the lid or taping it to the underside. To go a step further, store flour in the fridge during warmer months for added protection and freshness. Use frozen berries to prevent sinking. For muffins, cakes, or quick breads, frozen berries are a smart choice to keep fruit from sinking during baking. Back in her day, Grandma always used fresh berries, but freezing technology now gives us an edge. Frozen berries are firmer and don't bleed into batter as easily, which helps them stay suspended evenly. Before mixing them into your batter, lightly coat the frozen berries with a spoonful of flour. This extra step helps the berries cling to the batter and prevents them from dropping to the bottom during baking. Gently fold the coated berries into the mix last, avoiding overstirring, which can make colors bleed. If using frozen strawberries, cut them into smaller chunks before freezing. Don't thaw berries first. Keep them frozen straight from the freezer for best results. Adjust baking time by a few extra minutes to account for the colder temperature. Guard mixer with paper plate. Tired of flour or powdered sugar clouds when using your stand mixer? Grab a disposable paper plate and turn it into a shield. Simply cut a small X in the center of the plate and slide your mixer's whisk or paddle attachment through it. Fit it snugly onto the attachment, then secure it onto the mixer. The plate sits like a lid over your bowl, preventing ingredients from flying out during initial mixing. It's especially helpful when adding dry ingredients in batches. You can also cut small slits around the rim to drop ingredients through without removing the guard. After mixing, just toss the plate for easy cleanup. For hand mixers, gently drape a damp kitchen towel over the bowl while mixing. If you want a reusable option, cut a hole in a plastic lid or plate and clean it after each use. Toast nuts in microwave for extra flavor. When you want to deepen the flavor of nuts without turning on the oven, your microwave can do the trick. Spread nuts like walnuts, almonds, or pecans on a microwave-safe plate in a single layer. Microwave on high for 1-minute intervals, stirring in between until the nuts are golden and fragrant. This usually takes 2 to 3 minutes total. Toasting enhances the oils in the nuts, giving baked goods a richer taste and crunchier bite. Professional bakers often toast small amounts of nuts this way to avoid waste and save time in compact kitchens. Let them cool completely before adding to your recipe so they don't melt chocolate or change batter texture. Store extras in a sealed container to maintain crispness. Add a pinch of salt before toasting for savory depth or sprinkle with cinnamon after for a sweet touch.